Hi everybody. I am back to the topic of sensitivity. Because I just think it's important at the moment. Also this week with the energetic and astrological stuff going on. I think it's a topic because it's kind of a coming out of your shell energy. There's a lot of very intense energy coming in. But anyway, whenever you're watching this video, what I'm going to say applies to the topic of sensitivity, and is sensitivity a form of intelligence? I would absolutely say yes, as you've probably guessed. But I actually went and looked up the definition for intelligence, and the one I got from the Collins Dictionary was the capacity to understand, the ability to perceive and comprehend meaning. The capacity to understand, I think that's very important, because, as I said before, our sensitivity is actually, if you take all of it into account, something that is supposed to help you to understand. I mean, the ability to perceive, that's also quite neutral, although I already have to say that both the word meaning and understanding are kind of, they're a choice matter. And refreshingly, it turns out the root of intelligence, it's a Latin word, intelligere, and it originally or literally means to choose between. Or for instance, to choose between two possibilities. So it originally means something like discernment. And also the process of sorting through things, which is very aptly, used in that way when we're talking about technical or artificial intelligence. The ability to discern beyond what is thought of as, and I always find that hard, something that is merely has some sort of sentience. That is not intelligence, and I'd like to say that at the moment, refreshingly, we're opening up very much. I mean, people now talk about the body intelligence, people talk about the intelligence of animals and plants and the different forms of intelligence. So we're not in that strictly intellectual small box that thinks that our minds, whatever that even is, should also be up for discussion. Are the only thing, are the only form of intelligence. Emotional intelligence is always mentioned where things go really wrong, because a human being is lacking in said emotional intelligence and therefore is hurting themselves and others. So we're not that square about intelligence at the moment anymore. And I think when I talk about sensitivity, obviously it's kind of a sense thing, but it's also a form of intelligence. Why is it a form of intelligence? Because when you are sensitive, you are naturally already opening up to certain parts of your intelligence that might not be so easily accessible to other people. For instance, when you're very sensitive, you tend to either be more open or become more open to your body intelligence, because you might be food sensitive or sensitive to smells or sounds or whatever, and then you get closer to your body intelligence, because your body intelligence is kind of where you want to interface to find out what bothers you, and then you also get closer to your emotional intelligence and so forth, because you simply have to. As I said, I think last time I talked about sensitivity, I said that if you made all human beings like 100% more sensitive than they are now, you would probably save the planet. What else did I want to say? Let's go back to that square mindset where you're saying, okay, it's just the mind and nothing else. Is is the kind of way I want to totally get away from, but I want you to become aware of what that means or what that meant to you throughout your life, because you probably, like I have been, taught or conditioned or simply shamed into ignoring a lot of your sensitivity. And when you kind of use or adhere to that idea that it's you know, your mind kind of mastering all that chaos that is also intrinsically possibly meaningless, what you do basically is you use your mind, which is, I don't want to say it's not a good thing, but it's a tool, it's something that is part of you. But when you use your mind to suppress your sensitivity, and the information that comes with that sensitivity, you are kind of, you're doing that sorting, you are discerning, but you're discerning in a very negative and repetitive way. It's kind of a pattern that mostly happens with most people. It happens like totally unconsciously. Can you say that? Completely unconsciously? Completely unconscious? Sorry. One of these days. Okay, so yes, that's kind of try to be discerning of where you do that sort of thing. It happens all the time for anybody. So notice where is something coming up from your body or your feelings, and you're just like, not happening now, not happening ever, depending on what it is. So that is not helpful. So you see, because you're like cutting yourself off from information that might be helpful, and your sensitivity is always giving you helpful and meaningful information that might save you from anything from discomfort to serious illnesses. And it's also quite good at many other things. Like, I want to give some examples of what it can do as a form of intelligence. Your sensitivity is really, really good at helping you detect any kind of bullshit or lies. I'd say that really most people are quite capable of telling whether somebody or something is lying to them. They just don't know because it's really not that hard. I might talk more in depth about lies some other time. There's a really good Teal Swan video on lies, but maybe more from the point of view where you try to own your innate lie detector. But bullshit, like any kind of where, you can feel it in your guts, wherever you can feel it in your heart. You might even feel it in your mind, finally, and gloriously watching the news or some discussion, or it really doesn't matter an atom, and you think, oh, what a lot of bollocks. Well, and you think, but it's coming from inside you. It can tell you when somebody is not telling the truth, because when you're very open to all your perceptions, like in my case, when somebody, because there's hardly an intentional lie, but sometimes people say something, and then for me it would be, because that's one of my extrasensory abilities, I then actually get a kind of sensual impression, very hard to explain, of the part of the person who either thinks they're lying or is of a completely different opinion or has a completely different perspective. If it's a very suppressed, the more suppressed it is, the more palpable it becomes to me. And that will kind of then contradict what the person is saying in that moment. So if you can call that a lie, that's why I said like proper intentional lies are very rare. Another incredible use for the intelligence that comes through your sensitivity is to build self-trust within your inner system, I will call it, because most of that is unconscious. Like your body intelligence, like everything working in your body is obviously unconscious. A lot of sensual impressions, memories, all sorts of things. Like most of you just is unconscious because the capacity of our conscious mind is really small, and we have to make sure that we focus it in the right direction at all times, or we might talk weirdly or fall over. It's kind of something we are able to multitask to a degree, but we are, as humans, very dependent on our focus, very dependent, and it's meant to be that way. So it's not like you're having a problem, it's just how it is. Nevertheless, if you grow really familiar with your sensitivity, the form of your sensitivities, what it is that you perceive, what it might be telling you, and integrate that into your life and into the way you structure your day or whatever, it's just such a good way to build self-trust and to build inner trust into your different capacities, because it's kind of it's the unconscious bits that glues the whole thing together, and any possibility to come closer to that is a win for you and everybody else within you. So then it also helps you to, with that trust, go into the direction of what feels better to you. What do I mean by that? From a point of view as a sense of sensitivity and being sensitive, maybe more sensitive than you would like to admit to, there might be quite a lot of things you can do to actually make room for these sensitivities and act in your best interest alongside these sensitivities instead of ignoring them. So let's talk about sleeping. If you're very sensitive, there might be several things that stand in the way between you and sleeping well at times. And I would say that if you you notice that you sleep better when you're in a bed with an earthing sheet and there's a summer Vedic in your room and you're surrounded by crystals and there are no devices in your room, there's no electricity, and you're actually sleeping in an underground pyramid with an intricate system ventilating you beautifully, and listening to a little river, gurgling by. Well, if that works for you and you sleep better that way, just do it. Just do it. You can still have a fake bedroom somewhere, and if people ask you where you sleep, you say, "Oh, that's my bedroom." But see, sometimes it's really good to fully go with that, particularly when you have been traumatized out of being sensitive. Do whatever floats the boat of your sensitivity, or I'd rather say what floats the boat of you feeling better in spite of your sensitivity, in spite. We don't like that. How can we say that? That makes you feel good with your sensitivity. Like you've done everything for yourself to make you feel good and to have a nice quiet sleep that night in your underground pyramid. So, like the same, aren't we so apologetic always about stuff? I mean, we've gone a long way from that. And I know that it can be annoying to have a friend with 20 food sensitivities. But bear with me in that when you actually get in touch with your actual sensitivities, and I don't mean that you jump onto some kind of fashion sensitivity because, it must be that. I mean your actual sensitivities. And they're not the same for any two people. I say that all the time. This is the same. It's never the same for two people. So then you might actually lose certain sensitivities along the way, particularly if they are the ones that are more annoying and come in the form of allergies or whatsoever. Because when you are very integrated and authentic and with yourself, you don't need these things or sometimes sensitivities to keep you on track with yourself. Have I said everything? Yeah, there's so much insecurity around this. And honestly, you're heading just for such a much more fulfilled and happy life when you listen to your sensitivities, because if you don't, it's not going to go backwards. You're not going to become less sensitive. That's kind of a really weird idea. That's not going to happen. It's just going to turn into something different. You can take my word on that or not, try it out. Another thing I would say, that if you ignore the things that come to you through all your forms of intelligence, they will come another way. And it's in any way, it's just like with the healing, when people think, oh no, I have to do so much healing. I mean, you don't have to. Firstly, oh, it will take so much time. It might take time doing anything, but if you're not doing it, it will literally happen anyway and take 10 times as long. Yeah, but I'm slipping into a different topic. I think I've said anything. If I've forgotten anything, please tell me. And otherwise, try to really see what possible help and information you can gather out of your sensitivity, and see it as an really it's often connected to the collective consciousness. So through your sensitivity, you might potentially know everything. Okay, have fun with that. See you soon. Bye bye.